Hi everyone! Today we're going to look at building an Intamin first generation freefall ride in Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Only around 15 of these rides were built during the 1980s and 1990s, and just a handful are still in operation today. So if you were looking for a unique track ride from this time period for your park, this could be a good option. A quick shout out to Beggs and Zeklar for building their versions in each of their timeline parks, from which I've improved my original design. We will need enable all drawable track pieces, allow chain lifts on all track pieces, show all operating modes, allow arbitrary ride type changes, show vehicles from other track types, disable vehicle limits, and clearance checks to be off. We'll go ahead and start by building a vertical drop roller coaster. We will start with a single station piece, and then a steep slope up with a chain on it, and then vertical. Make sure you re-enable the chain lift as it will get disabled once you pick the vertical. And then we're going to go ahead and go up. So our base height is at 50 feet. These real life rides are about 131 feet or so. So we're gonna do something very similar to that. As always, this is just dependent on what you allow to see in your park and how tall you want your ride to be. This one is pretty variable as far as the actual ride size goes. So play around with different heights and see what you like. And we're gonna end with one piece without chain lift. And if we do that, then the ride won't fall off the end. And we're gonna delete the second to last one and do, start from the top here, and we're gonna do a steep slope downwards back to vertical. And then remerge our track back together. So the train will leave the station, climb all the way up the vertical hill, then reverse direction, and it will merge onto this second vertical section here in front so that the trains won't crash into each other. Before we go any further, we'll have to switch to the twister coaster because we want to get a nice large smooth slope back down to flat. And just for reference, if you're building at 50 feet like I am here, you're going to want the end of your steep slope to be at 65 feet. And then we're gonna go just outwards. These rides are generally about twice as long as they are tall, but again, just kind of play around and see what you like. And we're gonna end with a few sections of break, something pretty gradual. And then at the very end, we're gonna have a straight piece with a chain on it. And what this is gonna do is stop the car entirely and reverse it. Then let's delete this last break. And then from this chain lift piece, we're gonna go downwards, back towards base level, and head back towards the station, and we'll add in a few more break pieces, just to be safe. And I'm gonna make my station here 2 pieces long, because I wanna have my entrance and exit on the same side. You can obviously place these wherever you like. And then we'll add our brake back in. Make sure you have this last brake as slow as possible, just in case, so that the car doesn't overshoot the chain. Next, we're gonna want to change our train types. We're gonna go ahead with the lay down roller coaster trains. We'll switch these to 1 car per train. I'm gonna put 4 trains on mine. And for the operating mode, we're gonna pick normal mode. We'll make the chain lift speed maybe a little bit faster, just because I'm impatient. And let's go ahead and test this out and see what happens. All right, excellent. So this is exactly the behavior that we want. Now that our ride is operational, there's some more tweaks I want to make. This particular version of the ride is a little bit ugly. It doesn't look very much like the actual ride. So one of the first things I'm going to do is change this to the hybrid coaster. And we'll pop the colors here to something a little bit brighter. Have these nice bright steel rails and these big boxy steel girder supports. Looks a little bit more like the real thing. And I think this actually does look quite nice. And if you care about this kind of thing, the hybrid coaster does have some pretty good stats, so it should bump up your ride stats as well. Next, I would like to tweak the top here. In order to make it a little bit more realistic, I like to have my two sets of vertical rails going nice and parallel without having to see this slope in between. So in order to do that, I'm actually going to close the ride, and we will delete this second slope piece here, and then build backwards from the front vertical track, and then we'll re-add our slope. And then using the tile inspector, we will hide those two slope pieces so that we just see our two vertical spikes. Now, of course, we won't be able to see the correct behavior where the cars travel horizontally between the two vertical spikes, but unfortunately that's just something the game can't do, and we're gonna have to live with it. But we can fake it with scenery. And I do want to add some more scenery here to make this thing look a little bit more complete. For example, these steel lattice work pieces do look pretty nice as some extra bulky side supports, so let's go ahead and add some of those in. Of course, you can get pretty creative with this. I do like to add these little caps here as well to kind of top things off. I encourage you to go ahead and find some real photos of these out on the internet and see what kind of decorations you might like to add that makes it look a bit more realistic. But this is a good start. We can also add some more supports here to the side as well. Kind of close these gaps here. Might make it look a little bit more safe, so we don't have the risk of guests falling out, and that wouldn't be good. But as always, you know, it's scenery, so I encourage you to play around, do what you think looks nicest, so it's all up to you. One other thing I wanted to mention is that the AirPower vertical coaster is another option for making some good looking track. It does have this piece slope up to vertical that looks also quite a lot like the real ride. The unfortunate thing about this ride is that the slope is actually larger on the air-powered vertical coaster than it is on the Twister and Hybrid rides. So it doesn't quite line up. It looks really good, but you know, I haven't found a way that I am satisfied with to make them match up together, so that's why I haven't done it here. But if you've been able to figure that out, go ahead and let me know. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed learning about this ride and that this video was helpful. If there's something else you'd like to see in the future, let me know in the comments.